Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi, and he's made the announcement he is running for Congress. We do want to say, in full disclosure, we repeatedly request an interview with the Congresswoman, and we have been we've not had her. I want to keeping track for obvious reasons.
Sure.
She surprised us with a visit on Christmas Eve, during our Christmas Eve show.
Okay.
And since then, she has not been in. You've been critical of the fact that there's not been a town hall meeting. It's been said that it's because of security reasons, the safety of not only herself but for others. She was in the parade, 4th of July parade, and there might have been 5 or 6 troopers around her protecting her. Comment on that. I kind of wondered about why a parade but not a town hall meeting.
Yeah, look, I think the acts of violence or threats against elected officials has no place in our society. It's very difficult to step up and run for office. So threats are off limits. Acts of violence should be off limits. But you also have to be out there and listening to the people and doing your job. That's make sure that you're safe and your staff is safe. That's job number one. But part of the job is also being there, showing up and listening. And I think that's the one problem we have right now with our current representative is she's not listening to the people. She's not showing up and hearing their concerns. And I would argue just the opposite, that she's voting against the direct interest of people in this district. You look at something like the health care bill. This is a bill that will have severe consequences for New Yorkers here in the 22nd District. It's going to take health insurance away from conservative estimates, 20 million people across the country, raise premiums for people with pre-existing conditions, and we're all just one diagnosis away from being considered a pre-existing condition by an insurance company. She votes for the Internet Privacy Bill after taking money from the Internet service providers, which basically allows these Internet service providers, to sell your personal information to third-party advertisers. She votes to repeal the Dodd-Frank Amendment, which is the bill that was passed after the financial collapse in 2008 that prevents banks from making risky financial investments with our money. There's a very common sense provision that was a regulation that was repealed in this Dodd-Frank Amendment that says brokers who handle your retirement account have to put their client interest ahead of their own profits. Seems pretty simple to me. They felt that was something that should be repealed. So she's voting against the interest of the district. She's not listening to folks here. I'm someone who has shown that I'm willing to be an independent voice. If I speak up against the governor, I'm not afraid to do it. I'm not afraid to work across the aisle with my colleague, Senator Griffo, or the county executive, who are Republicans, to get things done.
One of the things she called you is a rubber stamp, a Cuomo rubber stamp.
I think people in this area probably would have a hard time believing that. When the governor was threatening public education, I stood up and voted against his education budget. When he was pushing through the SAFE Act, which I thought would be harmful to law-abiding gun owners in this district and harmful to places like Remington Arms, I stood up and voted against that bill. That gained me no popularity with the governor. When I felt he was ignoring this area and has not been showing up in this area to do a state of the state or ignoring economic issues that are in this area, I held my own state of the state in this area to show him that we're not going to sit back and take it from him. So I'm not afraid to go against the governor. I wasn't afraid to go against his former Speaker of the Assembly. I was one of the first members to stand up and help take him out. And that's what I would do in Washington. I'm someone who's not afraid to go against my own party leaders. I do what I think most people want in elected officials. They want them to reach across the aisle with their colleagues on the other side and try and get things done. That's what Senator Griffo and I have shown that we can do in this area.
Well, it's being proposed right now. There are some Republicans who are saying this is what needs to be done, and it's the obvious, right? Isn't it the obvious? If Republicans and Democrats could, whether it was done 7 years ago or today, could actually work together to come up with a health care plan that works for all Americans, that's what really needs to be done.
I've talked to people on both sides, Republicans, Democrats, independents, people who have said that, look, we want to fix the problems with the Affordable Care Act. We don't want to see health insurance taken away from 23 million Americans. We don't want to pay more if we have a pre-existing condition. We want insurance companies to cover us if we have to have prescription drugs or maternity care or go to the hospital. Those are all things that are guaranteed protections under the Affordable Care Act that are a threat. They are now under threat of being taken away from people if this health care bill goes through. President Trump himself called this bill mean. This is the bill that Ms. Tenney voted for in the House. So I think what most people want and what I hear on the street is, hey, let's be adults in Washington. Let's have the Democrats and Republicans sit down. No one says Obamacare is perfect, but let's fix the problems. Let's not scrap the whole system.
Yeah. Have you done a poll?
I have not done a poll.
All right.
No.
Your plan, obviously, will be planning
I'm
to
sure
do a
polling's going to be a part of all this.
Yeah.
Look, right now, the most important thing for me is doing the job I've been elected to do, being in the assembly. That's something that I've been doing all this past weekend, dealing with some of the flooding issues that we're experiencing in the area, being out there. So that's the job I'm going to do. I'm going to serve my term and make sure I'm doing 100% doing that.
Can we ask, I want to ask, were you there yesterday when Lieutenant Governor was in town? Everybody was in. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Was Mayor Palmieri there?
I did not see Mayor Palmieri there.
Because I had received a phone call. Obviously, there's a lot going on with the mayor and with Chief Brooks, and all of a sudden I'm getting fed all this this stuff, and oftentimes it's negative stuff on the mayor.
Right.
But why wouldn't the mayor be there? He was doing a sweep for the Boilermaker on the streets, I was told.
Okay.
Why would he not be there yesterday?
I'm not sure that until you just said that to me. I didn't even think about the mayor not being there. I know the county executive was there. I was there. The congresswoman was there. Senator Griffo was there.
Everyone was there.
Roanne DeCita was there.
Now, it was held in Whitesboro. It was not held in Utica.
Deputy Chief Clark was there. He was there from the city of Utica. I saw him. But until you just said the mayor, I didn't even think about that.
All right. Andrew.
I was going to address the earlier thing about you've talked to Republicans probably in the district so far and Democrats,
right?
And so one of the things that you talk about, she probably voted for this. I can't speak to what her train of thought was, but she voted for this because it's strong on the Republican agenda,
right?
But that's not necessarily the opinion of people here in this district,
right? I think it's directly against the opinion. I've talked to many Republicans who have said that something like the opioid epidemic that's plaguing our area right now. This bill, if it goes through, this healthcare bill, takes away treatment programs and funding for opioid addiction programs. That's not something people want, whether you're Democrat or Republican. Students with disabilities. One of the areas where Medicaid money is spent is to help help fund school districts who have programs for students with disabilities, whether it's speech pathology or OT or PT. That's money that will be cut under this bill. School districts are still going to have to provide those services in New York State and across the country, but the federal government's not going to be able to provide the services. So parents are very concerned. And it doesn't matter if they're Democrat or Republican. So there's a lot of problems with this health care bill. It's something, the Republicans in the Senate finally stepped up and said, look, this bill contains tax cuts for billionaires, and we're going to take that part out of the bill because we think that's probably bad. It's bad for us here. How do you justify giving, this is the biggest transfer of wealth away from working people to give tax cuts to billionaires who don't need it? And it makes no sense. But if you look at the lobbying that has been done in Washington since this bill was introduced, you see who the beneficiaries are under this bill. It's not working people. It's not Democrats and Republicans in the 22nd District. It's the billionaires in this country who are begging for this health care bill.
I want to be fair here in that...
I don't want to call it a health care bill. I hate calling it a health care bill. It really is not a health care bill. It's a tax cut.
Bill, yeah.
I want to be fair here, and obviously, whenever we call on you, you're always here, and you answer our questions, and sometimes they're tough ones. After the AMS fallout, that was a tough day.
Absolutely.
We've repeatedly asked for the Congresswoman to come on. She will not come on. She feels I'm not going to offer her a fair interview. So to be fair, there are a lot of people out there. Obviously, she was elected, and the margin was pretty strong.
Sure.
A lot of people believe she's a fighter of she fights for the people. She stands up. She's someone who does not vote yes on everything. How do you respond to those people, and how do you win those people over?
Well, she has always tried to portray herself as someone who was a watchdog in Albany. But what she has become since being in Washington is a rubber stamp. Whether it's the health care agenda, whether it's the repeal of Dodd-Frank, whether it's the Internet privacy bill, she is marching in lockstep with the special interests in Washington. Financial services industry, Internet service providers, the big healthcare industry, insurance companies, those are the people who are helping to really back her right now. And those are the people who don't have our best interests in mind. I want to work for the folks in this district who are struggling every day. That's what I've shown I've done over the last 5 years. I've always been a fighter. I'm not afraid to stand up against my own party when I think they're wrong. I'm not afraid to work across the aisle. There's not enough of that in Washington right now, and we need more of that, and that's something I pledge to do. One thing I've said, too, that I would do when I'm elected is you have to listen to the folks out there. I will hold a town hall every year in every county in this district because I think that's the best way for anyone to be an effective representative is to listen first, and right now our representative is not listening to us.
All right, it's going to be interesting. It's early, and I have 30 seconds for you to handle this one. It's early.
Yeah.
But when you're debating her, if that does happen closer to the election, Will you be able to talk positively about Nano, about the hospital downtown, about all these things? Are we going to see this stuff come to fruition?
I think so, absolutely. I mean, we've had some bumps in the road with nanotechnology. Things are moving forward. The site is still being prepared. The money has been secured for the area. There's probably more interest in that site than there has been in the last 10 years. So things are moving forward.
To be continued, and we will do this again. Thanks so much.
All right, thanks,
Assemblyman Anthony Brindisi.